Hello traders, my name is 𝗿𝗲𝘁𝗵𝗏 and this is our market update. We're going to talk a bit about the situation with Hurricane Laura, how that's impacting crude oil prices, and of course we're going to talk about the Jackson Hole Symposium. Alright, so the Jackson Hole Symposium is going to be hosted today and tomorrow, and it will include speeches of the head of the Central Bank of the Federal Reserve, Mr. Jerome Powell, head of the Central Bank of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, and as well the chief economist of the ECB, Philip Lane. And that will create some market volatility that could be unpredictable, because you can have Jerome Powell saying something and then you have Andrew Bailey saying something else, and you create some massive swings in GBPUSD. And then you have as well the Mr. Lane from the ECB. So it's going to be a bit volatile, and the biggest challenge here as well is that it's the last week of August. People are still in holiday mode, in particular in Europe, and they will still be in holiday mode by early next week. So we need to be careful here with our positioning, and we need to just be careful, really. Like, there's a few options, a few things I would do. Now, if you look something like at the GBP versus the USD, we said earlier in the week and also last week to be buying down here between 31 and 30. And we're now up with about 100 pips, so 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. The market got rejected here on August 21st and on August 19th. Now, we are dealing with an uptrend and we can trade much higher, no question about that. But we have a nice 100 pip or so, and we have risk event coming up, so I would definitely pocket that. And then if we do come down to this level again, I think that could be, again, an opportunity to sort of explore if one should be buying. But you need to bear this in mind. You need to pay attention to what is being said at these meetings. So if someone is saying something unexpected, you can have some big moves. And you as a trader, your responsibility is to try to interpret that. And obviously on Twitter, there's a lot of people that put comments and so on and so on. But my preference in these events is actually to stay away, because the market is going to be here on Monday. Don't forget about that. On Monday, we'll be back as normal. And at that point, people will already have a quite clear idea of what's going to happen. And of course, it might be too late at that point. And that's when you can look at the charts, use different correlation strategies to try to determine things and to take a position. But there's always a risk there. And because we have the unknown and we have the risk, if we do good, we get paid. If we do bad, we lose money. But that's how we're getting paid, by taking on risk before everything is sort of really clear. But again, the market's going to be here on Monday, so you can trade on Monday. It's not a biggie, I would say. And in the case of the GBPUSD, it is super interesting because the price was capped here on March 18th, 2019, and here in July 2018, and here in December 2019, and now we're at the same level again. And this is a big range, really. So if we do trade below the level here, this lower level at 129.99, we could potentially go down to 27.62, but ultimately all the way down to the other side of the range. So it's super interesting to see what's going to happen over the next few days. For now, though, I remain bullish, but we are in a level where it's time to book profits. Here is the Euro versus the USD, and the general idea has been to buy down here, but we haven't moved high enough to be able to book profits. What's the next step here then? I would just get out here if you wanted to. You can keep it open, it's up to you, but I would not be holding in a position here. If we do go down to this little buy area, that's what I would be getting involved. Here as well, if we do trade below 16.94, then that's a sign of a reversal. And of course, if we trade below that important level in GBPUSD and as well below that important level in EURUSD, then that's a good sign that something is changing. Dollar versus the Japanese yen is as well as in a downtrend. There's not too much activity here, but it is in a downtrend, and there's no real reason to change our bias here. Here's the Aussie versus the USD. It's doing really good. The general idea was to buy here. We're now at the take profit area. So profit in GBPUSD and profit here. It's time to book those, I think, because we've been rejected here on August 19 and on August 6. And, what says it's not going to come back down again? Can it be much higher? Of course it can be much higher. So if you are bullish, maybe closing a bit of the position, like 50% or 75%, and then looking for this to head higher. New Zealand dollar versus the USD, I don't have a strong view on this one. If anything, it looks like it's going to come back down again. Dollar CAD, The general idea that I had over this week, because I do update my analysis every day, just don't have a webinar for you guys every day, is to sell here, and I'll remain bearish below 133.54, between 132.41 and 133.54. Here are gold prices, which, as I was suspecting, is just trading sideways. And it makes a lot of sense. You know, we had a massive run up, and now the market is just pretty much just trading sideways, which should happen because it was everything was just going up. And if you took a look at the bit at Twitter, people were like, "Oh, it's so easy to make money. Like this is the easiest thing, blah blah blah." And yeah, I mean, I made very good money in July. And but that at one point I sort of knew that was not going to work out. I think I already told you this. Like everything I was touching was literally turning into profit for me, and I knew that was going to end. And yeah, you know, since then I've been taking it slightly easier. I am, however, long something, and I'm going to show you this in a few minutes. Now we're trading sideways between 1848 and 2017 here, and we might go up, we may go down. I wouldn't really have a strong view here for now. I think we'll trade sideways for longer. This is crude oil prices. Now, crude oil prices, remember, the general idea was to buy down here for it to go up. If you did that, congratulations, good for you. Now, I do think we can take a step higher. Support, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times met by resistance here. This by itself is a small rectangle. You can ignore this bit. And the difference between low and high is 1.58, so $1.58. And the general idea here is that on the break, we're going to go higher. And I'll remain bullish above this level down here. Now, ideally, one would have bought on the breakout or on the dip. And if we go down to the dip, then that makes a lot of sense. And what is driving this then? Well, look at this. This is the Hurricane Laura, and this is the speed probability and the calculations done by the National Hurricane Center. And what you can see here is just by looking at the scale of the colors here that we're around 90 miles per hour. That's a silly amount of speed, and it's just this whole area that is just bad. This is the rests of the other hurricane or storm Marco that was battering the area earlier this week. So it doesn't look really good, but this is really what kills people. This is the all of this area is under storm surge warning, which means that you can have elevated water levels here, and that is the problem, and that could effectively just sort of destroy a lot of businesses, a lot of homes. And from a crude oil perspective, I think about 80% of production has been forced to shut down because of this. But so far, we have not seen like any big activity here in crude oil markets. But it makes a lot of sense for me to remain bullish until proven otherwise. German DAX. So a few days ago, and last week said buy here, bookers profits here. I'm sticking with that plan. The idea was as well to buy on a dip. We didn't really go low enough, and I'm still looking for a dip to above the 50% level. Because we have all these speeches coming up, it makes a lot of sense not to be too close to the price. If we're too close to the price, you know, you get some comments out, you know, things can go a bit bad, can effectively lose money. So I would take it a bit easy here, waiting for that dip. Here's the Dow Jones, where the idea has just been for this to come down. It hasn't come down, so we haven't been able to buy it. Here's the NASDAQ 100. NASDAQ 100 has now properly reached that target we discussed. Because when we traded here in the beginning of August, I said double top target 6.24% higher. That's where I think we're going to be hitting. We went all the way up, and now we're there, and we haven't had an opportunity to buy since we reached these levels. My idea has been to buy a pullback. That hasn't happened yet. The last good idea was to buy a dip here, and that went fine. Now you might say, why are people buying? Like, what's wrong with them? You might say, why are people buying? The Nasdaq is at these levels. Well, they're not buying the Nasdaq. You need to remember that they're not buying the Nasdaq. They're buying things like Amazon.com, which is you're looking at here. Amazon had a nice, beautiful ascending triangle, and the initial target is up here. If you go for the aggressive target, you still have a nice 13% higher. And it's not that they care necessarily about the NASDAQ. They care about Amazon, what they think Amazon is going to be doing. And, you know, with lockdowns in the US and things like that, they're probably going to continue to gain, and that is lifting things like the NASDAQ 100. If you look at something like Facebook, here as well, this is an analysis I did back in August as well. Beautiful head and shoulders. Head, left, right shoulder. Who cares that, you know, the NASDAQ was at its all-time high, that this was its all-time high? Like companies like Facebook at these times where people are just sitting home, watching more TV or watching more Facebook than ever, more YouTube, all of this, all social media platforms, you know, they sell more advertising. And that is what people are getting excited. So they're not buying the individual NASDAQ 100. They're buying the actual companies that make up that make up the index. Like here's, you know, Apple as well, obviously strong surge and just keeps on going upwards. All right, let's take a look at the S&P 500, and then we're going to wrap things up. So this is the S&P 500. I had a few ideas for you here. Buy here, buy here. Look to book profits up here, I think it was. That one terrifically good, and it's obviously super bullish. I don't really want to jump into these markets, but this is like a first level. Things are getting a bit greedy, and the same way as in gold, that everybody was sort of like, oh, look, how easy is it to make money here? That's going to come and is going to come back and haunt stock market traders, and you're going to have a big move. Traditionally, September, October tends to be sort of bad months seasonality-wise for stocks. And as well, nobody's talking about it now, but we are closing in on the election. So that's going to happen in November. Let's take a look here. So we have on Investing Q, we have this section. Click on US election. We have a few articles. So the actual election day is on November 3rd. And you can read a bit about, you know, who's President Trump, who's Joe Biden. And here are the probabilities. This is from Odds Checker. So this is like they compare the different odds. So people that are betting money-wise, and they're betting on who's going to win or not. You get these measures like that. And Joe Biden was, you know, low 5%, went up to high 60%. President Trump looked like he was going to sort of suffer a bit. And now things are closing in. So it's starting to become a bit even. And realistically, I think that President Trump is going to win again, because it's easier for like the sitting president to just win and get reelected. But this is going to raise some uncertainty, and this is going to be more about in the news over the next couple of days and months, really. Yeah, I said I was going to talk a bit about my positioning, right? So let me just show you what I'm working with. So I am less aggressive because it is summer holiday period, but this is the Aussie dollar versus the Japanese yen. So what's the big theme? Big theme, stock market's going upwards. What tends to happen at those situations? Well, you tend to see things like the yen weakening, and you tend to see something like the Aussie dollar gaining as well. So we had this big move following the slide here, and now we're sort of trying to take out the December 2019 high and also the June high. And if we take out these levels, you can just look here. What's the next level? 80 level. Now, if you zoom in here, this is the daily chart, and the daily chart is in an ascending triangle, not a bad one. So this one, difference from here to here, gives you a target of 79.24, which is a great move. And then if you zoom in here, if you look at the 30-minute, you had a small ascending triangle here. This is August 27 high, and then you have this high here and this high here, and then you had that little break to the upside here. I wasn't around to buy this one on the breakout, but on the dip here, I bought a bit with a super tight stop loss down here. Why super tight stop loss? Why not a huge position? Because I don't have to have a huge position to make this roll off for me. But more importantly, we have all these speeches coming up, and that will create a problem. And that is a problem I don't want to be part of. I don't want to be a situation where I get wiped out just because Jerome Powell said something, and then something happens a bit later that causes the whole move to reverse. Now, that I talked about a few interesting things there, and that is the ascending triangle pattern. And patterns in general is what I use when I'm trading. If you want to know more about that, we do actually have a free course, the free Forex trading course up here. You can buy it for $7.99. That's great for, like, especially, well, anybody that doesn't want to open an account with ATFX. So the way it works is that you can get it for free. It comes included with an ATFX account. Doesn't matter the account size, but not everybody can open an ATFX account because of legal reasons. You know, you just in a part of the world, for example, that doesn't allow CFD trading. And then you can just buy it if you want to. And you can just buy it anyway, even if you are like UK based and you do want it to, you don't want to change broker really, you can just buy it. And why $7.99? Well, I think that's a reasonable price for most people. And also given the money I made with this strategies, you know, I think it's a nice little trade-off there. Because many times a lot of the free stuff you find there is very simple. There's not too much research into it, and it's definitely not a tested system. Now, you might not necessarily make as much money as I did. Maybe you'll make more, maybe you make less. It really depends on what you're doing with it and how much money you start with. But I can tell you, if you have no trading strategy at all right now, then this is something you want to check out. In fact, if you register in the very bottom here, what's going to happen is that you're gonna get an email. Actually, I think it's the second email after 3 days that gives you the free hour, the first hour for free of the course. The whole course is 4 hours to give you a bit of an introduction to what the whole course is all about. So yes, you really want to check that out. Your first name, last name, email address, phone, and then you put the country in. You get an email. Depending on where you are in the world, you're going to have 2 different options where you can choose which ATFX branch to work with. All right, have a great day, guys. If you do have any questions for me, let me know. You can always reach out to me via info@investingcube.com. As well, you can leave comments below this video. You can like it, and be careful out there because we have those speeches coming up. Have a great day. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on Monday. Thank you, and bye-bye.